Good morning and welcome to the wilderness. Let's start with our daily practice of prayer. Father, help us to hear from you. Lord, may your text, may your word jump out at us today so that we might honor you in our lives, put into practice what it is that you say. In your name we pray. Amen. Well, we're in the book of 2 Kings and we're going to be in chapter 3 and we're just going to look at 3 verses today. And they say this: Joram, son of Ahab, became king of Israel in Samaria in the 8th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah. Now, just as a quick editorial note, Israel and Judah. Judah is the southern kingdom, Israel is the northern kingdom. So when you're reading in the Bible, when it says Judah, it means Jerusalem, all that. And when it says Israel, it means the northern kingdom. It's where Israel split into 2 after Solomon's reign. So let's keep going. Just a little knowledge for you. So Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and he reigned 12 years. So Joram reigned 12 years. Now, here's the little editorial note about him. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord, but not as his father and mother had done. He got rid of the sacred stone of Baal that his father had made. Nevertheless, he clung to the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, which he had caused Israel to commit. He did not turn away from them. Now, this text is trying to share with us that leadership is very important. Now, you've got the prophets on one hand who are leading people back to right relationship with God, but you've got the kings, which are the political leaders, and they're doing things too in public that are actually taking people away from their relationship with God. Now, notably, it says that he did evil, not as bad as his father. Like, he tore down his father's stone, Baal worship, which was very detestable, and he tore that down, but he still did evil. Now, that word evil is ra in Hebrew. And what I like about this text right here is that it's just so plain. He didn't do tov, which is good. He did ra, which was evil. And in the book of Genesis, I think this kind of throws back to the book of Genesis. Every time you hear those words in the Bible, ra, tov, good, evil, it kind of throws back to Genesis chapter 1 because God is the tov maker. He makes everything tov. He makes everything good. But humankind, infested with this sin nature, makes everything raw, makes it evil. In fact, at the end of Genesis, right at the very end, Joseph is saying to his brothers, who had sold him into slavery, he says, what you had intended for raw, for evil, God intended for tov, for good. So God can take the evil that someone intends and flip it and make it good in your life. But going back to 2 Kings, I think that this little editorial note on the king shows a couple of really important things. One, leadership matters. It matters because we as a people follow our leaders. So leaders of churches, leaders of your home, leadership of other communities, our political leaders, all of that matters. And when they do evil, then there's some sort of permission given there, isn't there? Now, that's not to say that you and I don't have a personal responsibility, because we do. But so many times people can be led astray by the evil that another leader does. Let me give you a great example. When I was a kid, we went to a church for a very short amount of time where the lead pastor committed adultery. Now, our family decided that what we really wanted out of church was morality. And so we just simply stopped attending church. We thought we could be great moral people for a long time, and we don't need the church to tell us how to be moral because look at what they did. And you hear stories about that all the time. People walking away from their faith, people walking away from Jesus because of the evil that is so prevalent in some leaders. And I understand it. I get it. I look at the Catholic Church scandal and I look at all that and I see how people can totally walk away from their faith communities because the evil that was done there. So the leadership really matters. And I want to challenge us as a church and challenge you as you watch this. We need to demand good leadership. We need to demand Tov leadership, not raw leadership, Tov leadership, because it does matter. It helps build our communities. It builds in huge ways. And so there's that. And then there's also the need for us as a community, when our leadership is doing raw, or is to do Tov, is to do the opposite back. And so I want to challenge us this morning. Maybe you're here today and you're thinking, well, what do I do today in the midst of this quarantine? You know, the Bible talks about good and evil in such simple terms. And I think so many times we like to try and make it more complex. But it's simply Tov, which is good, or Ra, which is evil. And I love what God says to Cain. He's like, hey, choose Tov, because Ra is knocking on your door. So I want to encourage you today to choose Tov. Hope you have a great day. I can't wait to see you again soon.